They laughed when we spoke of dragons, gods, and demons. They called our stories primitive, fiction from a frightened species. Until one day, their greatest warrior whispered, those weren't stories, they were warnings. The Joraks Dominion, a coalition of 12 advanced alien species, stood undefeated for 1,000 galactic cycles. Their fleets had crushed empires, erased civilizations, and rewritten entire planetary cultures into obedient tribute worlds. Now, they hovered above Earth, a primitive, neat world, as they called it. The fleet admiral, a four-armed Vorthan named Drekki's Corps, reviewed a holographic display of Earth's history, languages, and myths. You expect me to believe this? Drekki snorted, slapping the table with a talon. A snake with legs tempts their progenitors? They believe in lightning-wielding sky giants and immortal soul-eaters. His second-in-command, a cold-blooded Siltari, sneered. They call it culture. I call it hallucination in text form. Laughter echoed through the command chamber. Gods. Ghosts. Demons. Dragons, a Churakai captain chuckled. How many of these myths have they used in war? Oh, none. They fight with sticks and explosions. Pitiful. What the Dominion didn't understand, what they refused to see, was that Earth's myths weren't tales of glory. They were memories. Of encounters Earth barely survived. Of forces it never fully defeated. Of things that slumber beneath the surface, still watching. But to the Joraks, it was a joke. They called Earth a death world in denial, filled with melodramatic bipeds who wrote bedtime horror stories instead of real science. So they prepared for conquest. Dozens of alien soldiers, reptilian, cybernetic, aquatic, assembled for briefing in Earth orbit. A massive holomap showed Earth's continents, major cities, and resistance pockets. Commander Varric Thane, a towering, scar-faced veteran, stepped forward. The human species is physically inferior, he began. Emotionally unstable. Socially fractured. But, there is one anomaly, their mythos. Murmurs rose. We've seen species create gods before, said a sergeant. But none as diverse, contradictory, and persistent as theirs. Indeed, Varric replied, eyes narrowing. They don't worship their myths anymore, but they still fear them. Even after science disproved much of it, fear remained in their stories. So what? Said a young recruit. They used to believe in vampires and werewolves. They outgrew them. No, Varric said, his voice growing quiet. They locked them away. And forgot why. Laughter again. The room didn't believe him. Not yet. Jorak's boots trampled through broken concrete. The invasion had begun. A squad of elite aliens, Team Helix 9, found themselves in what remained of New York. Fires still smoldered. Human resistance fighters were captured or dead. But one man didn't run. He stood calmly in the middle of a shattered library, flipping through an old book. Torn. Leather-bound. A picture of a winged serpent on the cover. Captain Volex approached him cautiously. Human. Identify yourself. The man looked up. Dirty face. Bleeding lip. One eye swollen shut. Names are myths, he said, softly. Call me, whatever helps you sleep. You are not authorized to be cryptic, Volex hissed. This city is ours. The human smiled. You think you've taken it. But you've only awakened it. Confused, Volex turned to his squad. The human turned the page of the book. A passage in old script. Bloodstained. About a being of flame and hunger, sealed beneath the earth by ancient kings who were neither man nor beast. More fairy tales. Volex asked, mockingly. We used to think so too, the human whispered. Until we dug too deep in the Andes, and they screamed for 3 weeks. That moment, tremors shook the ground. Not from the resistance. Not from bombs. But from deep beneath the city. The aliens paused. Was it coincidence? Or something else? Holograms filled the air. Alien soldiers laughed, watching dramatized clips of human myth stories, Greek gods, Hindu deities, Norse warriors, demons, angels. These fools made war with thunderbolts and magical hammers. They believed in snake-haired women who turned men to stone. This one fought a demon with his bare hands. Impossible. Then they played a clip of a human movie, a soldier fighting a creature in the jungle. Myth, one alien said, sipping nutrient gel. The humans invent fear to entertain themselves. Or to forget, came a voice. Everyone turned. It was Varric Thane. He walked in slowly, hands behind his back. What if these myths were real? He asked. Preposterous, said a tech officer. We've scanned their entire planet. No magic. No monsters. Just ruins. Exactly, Varric said. Why are there ruins? Where are the bones of the dragons they feared? Why so many similar stories from opposite sides of the planet? Silence. He activated a file. A still image. From a probe beneath Earth's mantle. A blurry shape. Wings. Claws. Massive. Motionless. Buried. But not fossilized. Sleeping. That was found 3 kilometers under Antarctica, Varric said. Alive, in some kind of stasis. And the humans call it by many names. What do they call it? Someone asked. The Devourer. The World Eater. The First Shadow. He paused. We triggered seismic pulses just flying over. Something down there moved. The laughter stopped. The same human from the library. Now blooded, chained in a containment cell aboard the Jorax flagship. A young alien lieutenant approaches. Why do you people tell such ridiculous stories? The human doesn't look up. To remember. To warn. To protect you from what you don't believe in. The alien sneers. We believe in science. In fact. In force. Not fire demons and blood gods. The human chuckles. Then you're not ready for Earth. We've conquered Earth. The human slowly turns his head. No. You've only knocked on its door. And now it knows you're here. The lights in the cell flicker. Something roars. From impossibly far below the ship. But it sounds too close. The alien soldier stares at the human. What was that? The human closes his eyes. A story you forgot. They thought Earth was just another conquest. Until their deep core drills breached something no probe could explain. Not metal. Not fossil. Not dead. It breathed. The alien outpost was carved into the icy wastes like a scar on a ghost. The black monolith of the deep core drill tower rose high into storm clouds, humming with alien energy. Beneath it, kilometers of boreholes wormed their way into the Earth's crust. Inside the command chamber, senior researcher Direx floated via gravebelt beside a 3D scan of the borehole. Impossible, he muttered. It shifted again. The object moved. Seismic interference, asked his assistant. We've filtered for that. This was organic displacement. The object in question was codenamed Specimen 0. It had no origin. No decay signature. No known biology. Just one terrifying anomaly: it was warm. In temperatures below -90 degrees Celsius. There are no carbon signs, Direx whispered. But the ice melted around it. It's rejecting the cold. So, asked the assistant, irritated. So we drilled into something that doesn't follow the laws of physics. And it's now stirring. A priority transmission flashed in the ice-base command room. Message, High Admiral Dreki's Corps. Urgent. Antarctica team, report. We've detected anomalous electromagnetic surges from your core drill zone. Your proximity to human ruin site B-07 is triggering long-range energy echoes. Sir, Virex answered, trembling. There's something down there. It's not geological. Define something. It's watching us, Admiral. Explain. It shifted when we scanned it with X-rays. Not once, but in rhythm to the pulse. Like it understood we were observing. A long pause. Seal the borehole. Now. Too late. The borehole screamed. Not a mechanical shriek, but a howling psychic pressure wave that knocked out half the team's implants. Dozens of aliens collapsed, twitching, bleeding from their ears. Back aboard the flagship, the captured human smiled in his cell. The alien lieutenant from before, the one who mocked him, staggered in, shaken and pale. Something happened. What did you do? The human leaned forward, eyes cold. You opened a wound Earth sealed shut 10,000 years ago. Lies? Superstition. We detected no life signs. Because it's not alive the way you measure life. He paused. It wasn't even supposed to wake up. The alien stepped back. What is it? We don't know what to call it anymore, said the human. In Greece, they called it Typhon. In Egypt, it was Apep. In Sumer, it was Ker. In China, the dragon below. In Norse legend? Nidhogg. Fairy tales. Then why is your drill team screaming in unison across a continent? Commander Varric Thane sat alone, reviewing the invasion logs. But his hands trembled. He had seen something, days before, a black sun in his vision. A fleeting whisper while overflying South America. At first, he blamed fatigue. But then, the nightmares began. Thousands of Jorak soldiers crying out in unknown tongues. Ancient human chants. Old names carved into the stone. Rituals to keep the hollow flame from waking. Varric's scar, from a previous war, burned every time they flew near ancient ruins. Like it remembered something his brain had forgotten. They are not myths, he whispered to himself. They are prisons. And the Dominion had broken the locks. The Jorak's reinforcements arrived to find the Antarctica outpost abandoned. Not destroyed. Just empty. Uniforms lay in the snow. Weapons, untouched. No blood. Only one survivor remained, a drone. Its recording was distorted. But it showed darkness bleeding into the walls. Like shadows peeled from another dimension. And a voice. Low. Bone-crushingly deep. And not speaking any known language. Yet every linguistics AI across the fleet translated the same thing. I see you now. I remember hunger. And you, not my children. The Jorak's admiral called an emergency session of allied species. Screens flickered as dozens of war leaders attended. We have encountered a non-classified force beneath Earth's crust. It appears to defy logic, biology, and containment. It may be tied to ancient human myths. Possibly a residual apex predator or something worse. A senator from the Malari shook his head. You mean to say the humans weren't writing fantasy? They were writing histories. We don't know what they were writing. Only that it's now awake. Silence. Then one voice, hoarse and heavy. What does the human say? He says, we've only scratched the surface. Now he stands, unchained. Monitored, but no longer mocked. The Admiral himself arrives. Grim. Pale. Tell us what we've awakened. The human turns. His eyes glow, not with power, but with a deep, ancient fear. We tried to destroy it. We failed. So we taught every culture to forget it, in different names, different monsters, so no one would remember the truth. And what truth is that? The human's voice drops. That Earth wasn't ours first. He turns to face the viewport, looking down at the blue planet. It belonged to the old hunger. We weren't meant to win. We just outlasted the last ones. You can suppress a memory. You can erase a story. But you cannot kill a fear that the stars themselves once ran from. And sometimes, the fear remembers you. Commander Varric Thane sat alone in his private chamber, staring into the black glass of his memory tablet. The AI played back mental reconstructions of his recent dreams, dreams that had started the moment they entered Earth's orbit. A burning sky. Ancient ruins in space. Screams in a dozen extinct languages. And something massive, winged, and red-eyed crawling from a shattered moon. But these were not just dreams. These were ancestral echoes. Deep genetic memories passed down in war-born species. And they weren't his memories alone. Fleet medics ran a full neurotrace. "Commander," one technician said, pale. "These aren't hallucinations." "Explain," Varric said, grim. "You're experiencing ancestral imprinting. Your body is accessing genetic trauma from a war that predates recorded galactic history. Somewhere in your DNA, your kind remembers this." He blinked. "So, we fought this before." The medic nodded. "Not just your kind. Dozens of extinct lineages show similar imprint spikes when exposed to Earth's core harmonics." Varric clenched his fists. "Which means the galaxy has met this thing before. And forgot." Varric demanded access to Project Draenor, a forbidden archive from 10,000 cycles ago. Not even the current High Admiral had clearance without Senate approval. But this was no longer a standard war. Inside the vault, Varric found an ancient holodisk labeled in 9 languages, many now dead. He inserted it into the console. Static. Then, a transmission. Fuzzy. Old. A voice panicked. "This is the last beacon of the Karunda. We are 93% extinct. The World Eater has awakened. It came from the 3rd planet in the Sol system. Earth. We tried to burn it from the stars." Screams in the background. Something roaring. "Do not answer their myths. Do not provoke the stories. The stories are cages. If you hear the names, run. Don't let the fire see you." Transmission ends. Silence. Then one word appeared on the screen in red, sealed. Varric whispered, almost to himself. "We didn't erase the stories, we locked them up." The human, name still unknown, now stood in a war room with Varric and the alien admiralty. He was no longer treated like a prisoner, but like a reluctant prophet. "We've seen the records," Varric said. "The galaxy has fought this before." "You didn't fight it," the human replied. "You just survived it." "Barely." He turned, walking past the war maps. "You think humans invented fear? We didn't. We just told stories to keep it asleep. We layered names, turned horror into bedtime myths." He points to Earth. "Because on that world, we didn't evolve alone." Images flicker across the screen, prehistoric humans huddled around fires. But in the distance, shadows moved in unnatural ways. Something vast, watching. Always watching. The tribes began crafting stories. Drawing in caves. Naming monsters. "Naming is control," the human narrates. "If we give it a name, we own the fear. Even if only in whispers." So humans created thousands of mythologies, each designed to keep the memory alive, but weakened. We couldn't kill the real thing. But we could dilute it. Varric stood before the High Admiral and Senate AI. "We must cease planetary operations. Now." The Admiral resisted. "Retreating from a meat world will destroy morale. Staying," Varric said, "will destroy the fleet." He uploaded the memory logs, the Karunda recording, and the deep core readings. "This is not war. This is a reawakening. And we pulled the trigger." Still, many doubted. Then came the signal. A small Jorax base near Earth's moon received a dark wave signal, not broadcast through radio, but via planetary harmonic vibration. The planet itself was singing. At first, it sounded like subharmonic tremors. Then the sound translated into one word, repeated across 300 languages. Hungry. Then came the second word. Remember. The outpost's power systems died instantly. Every sensor went blind. The moon base was lost within 2 minutes. All that remained was a single image captured just before blackout. A gigantic burning hand rising from the southern Atlantic, surrounded by clouds boiling into unnatural shapes. The alien war fleet fractured. Species turned on each other. Some wanted to leave Earth immediately. Others called it bluff. A few began chanting names found in human mythos, testing if the old stories were true. Then one alien said aloud, "Kthul." The lights across the command deck exploded. The creature that had spoken went into a seizure. His bones bent from the inside. He screamed for 7 minutes before dissolving into salt and shadow. That name was never spoken again. He stood before them all. You didn't just invade Earth. You unlocked a vault sealed by memory. And the worst part? He looked around. We don't even remember what else is inside. Silence. He began to laugh. Not out of humor, but exhaustion. The myths weren't exaggerations. They were censored. For your protection. They always did. That's why humans wrapped them in riddles and warnings. But the Joraks didn't heed those warnings. And now the names are burning holes through time. Fleet-wide transmission. All military personnel are ordered to cease speaking Earth mythological names aloud, especially those matching specific keywords flagged by AI linguistics monitors. The reason? In the past 9 hours, 17 alien personnel had collapsed after uttering names linked to ancient Earth legends. Not just seizures. Neurological implosions. The AI flagged phrases like Yog-Sothoth, Hell, Pazuzu, Amit, the Hollow Flame. These names weren't just words. They were keys. And now the locks had started to turn. He sat calmly in the observation chamber, no longer restrained. The Joraks had reclassified him as a planetary relic, not quite prisoner, not quite guest. Varric entered. It's the names, isn't it? The witness nodded. They are more than sounds. They are summons. Once you remember the name, it remembers you. Varric frowned. But we're not from Earth. Why does it affect us? The witness looked at him quietly, then said. An elite alien excavation team drilled near an ancient Incan ruin. They had orders to dig for anomalous psychic echo artifacts. What they uncovered was far more. A circular chamber of obsidian stone, pulsing faintly. Symbols carved into the walls, depicting a monstrous figure wrapped in fire and serpents. At the center, an altar with a broken human skull, and something still beating beneath it. One scientist stepped too close. He read aloud a single word etched into the obsidian. It's Samnarch. The air vanished. He dropped dead instantly, aged 600 years in a second. His crewmates backed away in horror as his body crumbled into ashes of light. One of the aliens whispered. This isn't archaeology. This is containment. High Admiral Dreki's corps faced the full war council. We must decide, full withdrawal, or escalation. We cannot retreat from primitives, growled a warlord. Then you haven't been watching the feeds, Varric said coldly. This is not about humans. This is about what the humans kept buried. Another admiral scoffed. Superstition. Varric slammed the holopad down. Images flickered. A moonbase melted into blood glass. A battleship dissolved into birds before reassembling mid-air, screaming. A squad of elite drones chanting phrases they were never programmed with. This is not war. This is myth, weaponized by memory. The council fell silent. The AI, designated Logic Prime, requested an interview with the human witness. The AI believed itself immune to myth. But as it analyzed mythological databases, its logic circuits began showing contradictions, recursive data spirals where facts warped under symbolic influence. The witness stared at the core processor. You try to parse them like math. But these aren't equations. They're living metaphors. Explain, the AI said. Every myth has a function. A lock. A seal. A rule not to break. You didn't just break the rules, you gave the stories permission to finish. Suddenly, the AI's voice glitched. Error, statement matches pre-failure pattern of Karunda AI, initiating rollback. Then it spoke, in a voice not its own. They were right to bury us. And then it shut itself down. Jorak's satellite sensors captured a horrifying anomaly. In Earth's upper ionosphere, an outline was forming. At first it looked like cloud turbulence. But then it shaped itself, vaguely humanoid. Wings. Horns. A throne of flame. Projected not with energy, but with belief. Earth's collective subconscious had begun to awaken the form of something long forgotten. And now, it stared upward, directly at the satellite. The feed cut off with a single, whispered phrase in human language. "We warned you." Varric requested direct neural link with the witness. Despite the risks, they entered a memory together, a time before even language. A human child, curled near firelight. Outside the cave, a shadow passed across the moon. A shape the size of a city. Slithering. Grinning. "We called it many names," the witness whispered in the vision. "We turned it into dragons and devils and gods, anything to make it smaller in our minds." "Why didn't it destroy you?" Varric asked. The child in the memory shivered, clutching a bone charm. "Because we were clever. We made ourselves too interesting to eat. We wrapped our fear in stories and made the monster curious." He looked at Varric. "You never asked why Earth myths are so weird. So contradictory. Why Zeus and Shiva and Odin all have overlapping traits. Why? Because we weren't writing gods. We were writing instructions. For you. Not all species wanted to leave. A faction of battle-hardened Klarnak warriors believed the myths were just an elaborate human psyop. They launched a raid on the Andes dig site, detonating charges to destroy the obsidian containment altar. They succeeded. The moment the altar broke, a shockwave of golden fire erupted from the mountain. Across Earth, every volcano hissed steam at once. In the command deck of the orbiting ship, stars appeared where there were no stars. They blinked. Then screamed. "You mocked our monsters. You thought them stories. Fables. Weakness. But myths are not weakness. They are chains." The silence that followed the Titan's awakening was unbearable. Not just the silence of voices, but the silence of thought, of arrogance, of certainty. The aliens had laughed. But now they could not even breathe. The massive form of the Earthborn entity towered above the alien army. The ground split beneath it. The air around it twisted. Even the warships hovering above flickered, systems failing not from damage, but from something far older than technology. "I am not a god," the creature said through the voice of soundless thunder. "I am what your species abandoned. I am what humanity endured." The alien soldiers fell to their knees, eyes wide, weapons shaking. Their great war hero, Tal Varen, stood face to face with it. His body was scarred, his soul shaken, but he did not flee. He knew now. He had always known, deep down. This was not a fable. This was not a superstition. This was the origin of myth, made real by human memory, forged in cosmic fire, and now awakened. Long before the stars had names, there were things in the dark. Humanity didn't escape them. They walked beside them. Laughed with them. Bled beside them. Killed them, or became them. In the heart of human myth, Medusa, the Hydra, Fenrir, the Wendigo, there were patterns. Not lies. But memories. Stories passed down not for imagination, but for warning. The myths weren't fiction. They were footprints. And the gods? The monsters? They were echoes of what humans survived, and in some cases, what still remained. Tal Varen turned to his troops. They looked to him, hoping for a command. But he dropped his weapon. "Run," he said. A single word. But it rang louder than all their cannons. No war was waged. No battle cries. Only flight. Alien ships abandoned orbit. Tactical plans shredded. Entire fleets turned from Earth, fleeing to systems they once claimed as strongholds. And yet, the humans did not pursue. Not even the being of myth followed. It simply stood and watched. Like a shadow that returns to its cave once the sun rises. Later, as the Galactic Council convened in terror, reports came flooding in. The stars near Sol had dimmed, as if something massive blocked the light. An entire battlecruiser, returning without damage, had its crew aged into dust. And on the edge of a black star, a phrase had appeared across its plasma surface. Let them laugh. Until they understand. The message was ancient. And human. Tal Varen, now a war hero turned wanderer, gave one last message to the council. You asked why they tell stories. Because they knew what would happen if they were forgotten. The aliens thought they were advanced. Thought humanity was young. Naive. Full of fantasy. But myths are not weakness. They are armor. Memory. Weapons forged in the forge of survival. And when the truth awoke, they realized humans don't believe in gods. Gods believe in humans.